In this video, we're going to take a behind-the-scenes look at the making of the Fabelmans movie with 10 interesting facts that you probably didn't know. From how the cast was chosen, to what went into creating the amazing visual effects, you'll be surprised at how much work goes into making a Hollywood film. So sit back and enjoy as we closely examine one of this year's most anticipated movies. First up, it was short work for the screenwriter. Even though Spielberg is credited as a co-writer, the filmmaker worked closely with Tony Kushner, who is also a screenwriter and has been his collaborator for a significant amount of time. After collaborating on West Side Story, Lincoln, and Munich during the previous year, they have now moved on to working together on The Fabelmans. According to IndieWire, it was the easiest task that Kushner has ever had in his professional life. The screenwriter talked about his day-to-day life while working on the film, describing it as a side gig for him. Kushner elucidated, "We wrote 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, and we finished the script in 2 months. By leagues, the fastest I've finished anything. It was a blast. I loved it." Next up, Spielberg had the idea in 1999. The Fabelmans had a very quick turnaround from when Spielberg and Kushner put pen to paper, although the concept had been mulling around in Spielberg's head for much longer. The New York Times claims that Spielberg first got the idea in 1999. "My big concern is that my mom and dad won't like it and will think it's an insult and won't share my loving yet critical point of view about what it was like to grow up with them," Spielberg said in an interview from 23 years ago. Spielberg held off on making the movie because that 23-year period contains some of the director's best works, and his legacy has only continued to expand. A film honoring his life and upbringing has much more impact today than it would have in 1999. During this 23-year period, Spielberg concentrated on some of his most iconic movies. He released Saving Private Ryan in 1998 and AI Artificial Intelligence in 2001, both of which earned him critical acclaim and Oscar nominations for Best Director. The Fabelmans will be a true labor of love for Spielberg and Kushner, who are both intimately familiar with the family story. They're reportedly drawing on their own experiences to provide an authentic look at growing up in a large family, while also making sure they get all the details right. Next, it was originally titled I'll Be Home. The Fabelmans was much more than just a concept in 1999. Significant progress had been made, but the original concepts were very different from the finished product that opened in theaters. The same New York Times story claims that the film's original title was I'll Be Home rather than The Fabelmans. Spielberg revealed that his sister, Anne Spielberg, wrote the screenplay for the movie, suggesting that a first draft of the script had already been finished. The Fabelmans have likewise been lauded for being whimsical, emotional, and endlessly enjoyable, so the movie at least maintains the same tone as the 1990s project. His sister also co-wrote the famous 1988 Tom Hanks comedy Big, which was whimsical, sentimental, and endlessly entertaining. Meanwhile, Spielberg's parents were nagging him to make the film. The truth is that Spielberg's parents were nagging him to create the movie, despite his worries that they would have perceived it as an insult. People claim that the filmmaker's parents urged him to complete the movie before they passed away. In Spielberg's words, "When are you going to reveal that narrative about our family, Steve? They were pestering me. They were therefore quite pleased about this." Unfortunately, Spielberg's parents died before the movie began production. Perhaps their deaths inspired him to finally produce the movie. Next, Spielberg cast Michelle Williams after seeing Blue Valentine. One of the greatest actors working today is Michelle Williams. She has 4 Academy Award nominations and has starred in several well-liked films. However, because of her performance in the emotionally taxing 2010 film Blue Valentine, Spielberg chose to cast her as Mitzi Schildkraut Fabelman, the character based on the director's mother. Blue Valentine tells the story of an infatuated couple and follows them again years later when they have children and are extremely miserable. There are some similarities between the 2010 movie and The Fabelmans because both deal with divorce and how it would affect their children over several decades. But above all, Williams' performance was so genuine and authentic in Blue Valentine that she fully merited the Oscar. Spielberg was so impressed by Williams' performance in Blue Valentine that he cast her for The Fabelmans, one of his most ambitious projects to date. In the film, she plays Mitzi Schildkraut Fabelman, a character inspired by Spielberg's own mother. The story of The Fabelmans follows the adult children of an unhappy couple as they come to realize that their parents' divorce was the best thing for everyone involved. Although it's a very different story than Blue Valentine, Williams' performance is just as poignant and well-deserved in this film. Williams has truly proven herself to be one of the greatest actors of her generation, with her powerful and emotional portrayals in both Blue Valentine and The Fabelmans. If you haven't seen these 2 incredible films, then be sure to check them out as soon as possible so that you can see Williams' Williams' work for yourself. And now, Paul Dano felt intimidated playing Spielberg's father. Along with Williams portraying a part modeled after Spielberg's mother, Burt Fabelman is portrayed by Paul Dano, and such a significant role came with a lot of pressure. The Hollywood Reporter claims that Dano was apprehensive about taking on the role of the semi-realistic persona that the renowned director so greatly admired. The performer clarified, "The risks seemed quite significant. You are taking on the persona of Spielberg's most significant, influential, and complex character. It was astounding to observe how much of this was present throughout his work." Dano's filmography is full of nerve-wracking performances, though, and it appears he enjoys them. For example, he co-starred with Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood quite early in his career, and most recently he appeared in The Batman as the Riddler, an infamous role in a franchise with a sizable and devoted following. But perhaps the most daunting role of all was portraying a father to both Williams and Spielberg. Williams noted, "Paul is married to a woman who has 2 daughters, so he had the experience of being a dad, but this was different. After reading the script, it certainly must have been intimidating for him to take on." Regardless, while also appearing in It Chapter 2, Dano will portray Fabelman for the duration of production. Next, David Lynch and Laura Dern in Twin Peaks Part 9. In addition to making distinctive films like Mulholland Drive and other bizarre thrillers, David Lynch also acts. Lynch plays the renowned film director John Ford in The Fabelmans, making a comeback to acting, although it wasn't without a lot of convincing. According to the playlist, Spielberg received help from their common friend Laura Dern, who repeatedly called him to commit to the part. It reportedly took Spielberg 3 weeks to get the elusive filmmaker to sign. The most intriguing thing is that Lynch would only agree to do it if Cheetos were always accessible on set, which is a modest but odd need. Now that Lynch has returned to the world of acting, many are wondering what he will do next. There is already a lot of excitement surrounding his next project with Dern, but there's no word yet on when we'll see it. Regardless of what comes next for Lynch, we can always enjoy his work as both a director and an actor. Furthermore, Sammy was the hardest role to cast. Since Steven Spielberg's childhood self was the inspiration for the role of Sammy, which Gabriel LaBelle performed in the latest movie, it should not be a surprise that the director considered it the most challenging role to cast. According to Vulture, Spielberg allegedly held auditions for over 2,000 actors to find the right fit for the role. He said, "I wasn't searching for what I saw in the mirror. I was looking for a young actor who could carry a lot of material by being curious and honest, and engaging and surprising." The filmmaker went into detail about the precarious balancing act required of him when looking for the perfect performer. Even though LaBelle accomplished just that and outperformed 2,000 other performers, he was not selected for the role until 3 months after reapplying. Next, Spielberg selected most of the music. The majority of the time, members of the post-production crew who specialize in music supervision are the ones who decide which pieces of music will be used in movies. However, Spielberg handpicked most of the classical music in The Fabelmans, except the score, composed by John Williams via IndieWire. Although it does not happen very often, and some directors even score their films, it is not unheard of for directors to have a considerable effect on the score of their films. The Fabelmans is notable because it is the film for which John Williams composed his penultimate film score before retiring. His final film score was for the 5th installment of the Indiana Jones franchise. Additionally, it ended a lengthy partnership with Steven Spielberg. The two worked together on 29 films. Finally, it was emotional on set. When one considers how deeply significant the picture is to Spielberg and how loosely it is based on his own life, it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that there were a variety of feelings expressed on location. Seth Rogen, who plays Benny Lowy, Sammy's adopted uncle, said that filming was incredibly difficult and that Steven Spielberg frequently broke down in tears while working on the movie. The actor shared his experience, saying, "I'd be like, did this happen in real life?" And the response was always, yes. Audience members will probably be moved to tears by the film, but in contrast to other films directed by Spielberg, those tears will almost certainly be happy ones. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. And don't forget to leave a comment below letting us know what you think. We love hearing from you.